Hello, welcome. I'm Shoshana Frank. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the student engagement librarian here at Phillips Library. Thank you very much for joining this extremely quick overview of search tips and tricks, which is geared for you to gain more confidence in completing your assignments. During this session, we will cover where to search, how to search, go over a couple troubleshooting things, and there will be time for questions and answers at the end, and I'll stop the recording. So today I'm going to be focusing primarily on library databases, but there are tons of resources that can also be found on the web. On the internet, you may find information about more local focus. You can access government data, reports, and websites. You can also hear from populations that may have been excluded or not heard in traditional publishing. So there's very much value from resources on the web. But for today, we're going to be focusing on library databases. With library databases, you can avoid paywalls. Everything's free. It's guaranteed that you'll find high quality content. And this is by far the best place to go for books and scholarly articles. So on the main Phillips Library website, you can access Spartan Search. That's indicated there in the big blue box. Spartan Search is going to allow you to search through absolutely everything the library has access to. But you can also search specific databases that are focused on specific topics, and you can access them by clicking on A to Z databases. From there, the A to Z database list can be filtered in a couple of different ways. You can choose the drop-down of subjects and click on a subject like criminal justice or elementary education, click on it and then click search. Or you can filter by content or type, such as newspaper articles, in order to find databases that are specific to current events. Anytime you select a subject or a type, always click search so that those databases will filter. When you are thinking about using library databases, you kind of want to consider databases are like a giant pile of moving boxes, and each individual database is going to have unique information within it. So sometimes you'll have to search through multiple boxes in order to actually find that the elements you're looking for, just like you have to go through many moving boxes to find all of your stuff that you're getting settled into your new home. So there's definitely benefits to searching within specific databases. Some of them will have special search tools or filters by subject area or material type, such as with medical research databases, they may have patient criteria or a way to select that the author is a nurse. Those are all going to be specific to databases. If we want to go and kind of get more information about our A to Z databases page, we have selected social work and clicked search. Now they're showing 33 databases that are related to social work. The middle shows the best bets. These are going to be the databases where you're most likely find information related to your research topic. And then on the right side, you'll see all these how-to guides that were created by librarians, and they're going to be topic specific, like the DSM-5 and ways to access that online, or about Research 101, how to search for everything. There may also be guides specific to classes like Nursing 4050 or English 1000. These tools are there to assist you at any time when you're searching, and they're super beneficial. All right, let's dive into how to search like a pro. What I'm going to be talking about is Spartan Search as a whole, but you can use many of these same techniques for any of the library databases. When we're using library databases, we don't want to ask a question. It's definitely a pitfall that we often face is we want to frame it as a question because that's typical for Google or other search engines, but it won't be as effective in a library database. If we want to find resources, for our example of addressing how phonics helps children learn to read, we need to identify the key words or concepts within that question. Once we have those keywords or concepts in our question, we can think about children and phonics, because those are kind of the big ideas that we were considering. And we want to learn how phonics can help children read. So, while help can be a really useful word, it's generally not going to be the strongest term for you because it is so commonly used. So, there are going to be many articles that contain the word help, but not necessarily are going to be related to your question about children, phonics, and learning to read. You could use the word benefits instead of help as an alternative, because that is a different way of saying help or assistance and could give you better results. So we had our broad concepts of children and phonics. So we want to think of other ways to describe that. So for children, it could be child or elementary education, primary education. For phonics, we could think about reading instruction or um, phonemic awareness. We just kind of want to brainstorm as many different related words, concepts, or ways to describe our search terms as we can, because that'll be a payoff once we're diving into our research. Let's take advantage of advanced search. When we're on the Phillips Library homepage, you'll see that big blue box that brings us to Spartan Search. From there, we'll click on that green magnifying glass, which will then take us to our specific Spartan Search homepage. From there, we want to click on Advanced Search, located just to the right of the white search box. And once we click through into Advanced Search, this is going to give us way more options and ways to filter and limit to our specific search. So from here, we can limit by material type, whether it's articles or books. We can choose a language, English or Spanish. We can also choose a date range, like 2008 to present or 2015 to present, to ensure that our results don't get too many old articles, because the library has resources that go all the way back to the early 1900s. When we're on our advanced search, we also have those multiple search boxes. And this is where we can really take advantage of all those keywords that we were brainstorming and our main concepts of our research. So in this case, we're going to add primary education and phonics as our search terms to two different lines. What that's doing is creating a kind of Venn diagram of overlapping area with those two words. And hopefully within that little green area that's indicated are going to be articles that are related to what we want or related to the research that we're looking for. You can always add more lines as well. You're not limited to just two, but every time you add a new line, that's going to make that green overlapping area smaller and smaller. You may have noticed that I used quotation marks around primary education. This is telling the database to search those two words in that exact order when they're looking at articles. You can see other examples on the screen of phrases that you can search. Anytime you're using quotation marks, you want to make sure that you've chosen a phrase searching that is going to be used regularly within your industry. You don't want it to be too general, because that may potentially limit how many results you get and could get frustrating. So there's also special characters that you can use. You can see pictured that using the asterisk at the end of Latin is going to allow us to find all different words with the same root of Latin. So Latina, Latino, etc. Although when we have the root word of Latin in particular, we may find that results are relating to the Latin language instead of the population that we're looking for. The asterisk is really helpful if you're searching medical terms, because many of them have a similar root and many different endings. So you can add that asterisk instead of having to search for each individual ending. You can also add a question mark to replace a letter in a word, and that's going to tell the database to search all the different forms of that word. So you can see pictured the example of woman searching both the plural and the singular at the same time. But you can also use a question mark when there are different spellings of words, whether it's the British versus American spelling in English. All right, we've put in all of our search terms, we've put in all our tools. Now we have a results list. Let's go through it to find out a quick glance at those results if they're going to be a good fit before we're going to go look into it more. Over the next few slides, I'll talk about how to find the publication date, journal title, if it's peer reviewed, and go into more details about the abstract. When we have our search results list, we'll see a whole long line of articles, books, and other materials that will start with the title in blue. And then below it, as you can see highlighted, is the journal that it's in. This is the British Education Research Journal. So right away, we're going to know that this article is going to potentially have a specific British perspective or experience that's highlighted in it because of the article or because of the journal where it's published. We can also see it was published in 2018. So it was just about 6 years ago, so still relatively recent and will probably fit really well within our research. Next, in Spartan Search, we have this fun little purple dude that shows that this is a peer-reviewed journal and article. Sometimes you'll find there's an editorial article within the journal that isn't going to be peer-reviewed or isn't going to be research-based, but still has that little purple peer-reviewed dude. This this purple indicator is a really quick way when you're skimming through your results to know right away if this is going to be a peer-reviewed article and can often help you meet those assignment criteria that you need for your research. We like this article. We've clicked on the title that was there in blue, and now we're going to scroll down to where it has the description, which is in essence the abstract or summary. It's just labeled as description here in Spartan Search. This abstract or summary or description is going to be a short introductory overview of the article details, and it'll give you an idea if this is going to potentially answer your research question or not, without having to actually go in and read the full article right away while you're in the thick of your research. The yellow underlined words are going to be those search terms that you typed in, and it's the database's way of highlighting why it chose this article and how it thought it would be relevant for you. As I was talking about at the beginning, brainstorming all these different ways of describing the research or the main concepts, we can also look within the articles that we find and kind of steal some of those subject terms. So here on this list of subjects that was in the article, they have things like educational practices or classroom practice. Those aren't words that we came up with to describe teaching or educating children in phonics or teaching them how to read, but they could be really useful. Whenever I'm researching, I always have like a blank sheet of scratch paper or an open Word document where I can note down the search terms I'm using, highlight which ones are really successful or which ones are really not great, and then also add more terms to my potential list. And that's where I can steal them from these words here in blue. So you can also consider where you want to find the term. It automatically defaults to any field contains and the search term we put in, but we can also select subject instead of any field. And that is telling the database that we want the article to be about whatever the word is. And so it is often helpful if you're getting way too many results to narrow from any field to subject specific. You can also remove items from your list. If, as we're looking at our results, we're finding a lot of information about British education in phonics or Korean education in phonics, and we want the United States, we can add another line to our advanced search. And instead of saying and, we can put not as that drop down. And what that's doing is going to tell the database to exclude this region or population or word phrases that we do not want in our results because we want to narrow it to a different region. All right, we've done all this research. We found an article. We want to save it. The really significant difference between general website and library resources is we want to save this permalink instead of bookmarking the page or saving the website's URL. The permalink, like it's in the name, it's a permanent link, will always bring you back to this specific article within the library resources. When you go to access library resources, since they're all free, you go through your Okta authentication process. And sometimes that makes really weird URLs that are up at the top of your screen, which is why we always want to use a permalink because that's always going to be the same link that'll bring you back to the specific article you want. In Spartan Search, you'll see where it says access online, and then it'll have full text availability and then words in blue. That's where you can click on that to those words in blue to bring you to the specific database where the article lives and click to open it to get the full text. You can also download the PDF of the article from there, and within specific databases, they'll also have that permanent link or permalink symbol or option for you to save a link back to the article. Another thing that you'll notice is there were quite a number of tools listed outside of the permalink. One such tool is Medley, which is a citation manager. Citation managers can be really helpful tools that can assist when you're doing research. They can help you track your articles, assist in creating citations and bibliographies for paper. Another option of a citation manager is Zentoro, which is especially helpful if you are conducting research in multiple topic areas because you can organize the articles by subject. We do have a research guide that can help you get connected to different citation managers, all of which are free, and find the best option that will work for your research. That link to the guide is listed on the screen, but you can also find it if you go to the library website and then click on research, and you'll see all the library created guides there for you. So we've talked quite a bit about saving, and in Spartan Search, there is a special feature if you're signed in with your Okta credentials to pin or save your item specifically within Spartan Search. You can click the pin symbol to save a specific article. You can also save a query, and saving queries allows you to save searches. So that has large amounts of materials and you can save it really quickly. One thing to keep in mind is this is all available to you in Spartan Search, but there are databases that will have similar looking tools like folders. And if you're in an individual database and you haven't created a special account for that database, it's not actually going to save that article in a folder for you. So you do want to be a little bit cautious to use the pins when you're in Spartan Search and not necessarily use those when you're in other databases. One really cool aspect about the library is while we don't own everything, we do belong to a network of other libraries that are willing to share their resources with us. So if when you're searching and you look at results, you see under how to get it, request an article through Typasa, you can click on that in blue. It'll fill out a form that will mostly be auto-populated for you and request the article. You can also request book chapters through Typasa, and generally the requests are filled within 1 to 2 business days. You'll receive an email with a link to the PDF that you can then download. You can also request physical books to be delivered here to the Phillips Library, which is super helpful if you live near campus. In order to find the physical books, you can search for and choose all iShare libraries. Since we are here in the state of Illinois, we have access to some partner libraries that have literally thousands and thousands and thousands of books. They're these massive research libraries. So that can be extremely helpful when you're searching, because books can be just as beneficial for your what you're looking for as an article or a digital text. So consider books or physical materials if you've started your research early and you have a couple of days for that request to be fulfilled. So we don't want you to reinvent the wheel. So one way when you are doing searching, and this is my favorite, is considering connections between articles. You can often get really great insight into the articles by looking at its references and what other research that article has been cited in. So often there's an automatic way for you to find these connections, and in Spartan Search, they're indicated with the red arrows that you can see circled on the screen. The red arrows that are pointing up are those that are going to bring you to articles that were cited in the future. So this article was published in 2020. So if we click those up arrows, we can potentially find newer articles, perhaps from 2023, 24, 25, that are going to be more current and will hopefully be on that same research path or trajectory. You can, if you find an article that is from 2025 or the current year, you can choose those down arrows, and that will bring you to a list of all the articles cited within the article you started with. That is really helpful if you want something a little bit older, or if you're really struggling, you're only finding super duper recent things. You could find something from 2018 or 2019 that's slightly older research, but still can be really helpful for your assignment. All right, let's talk about some troubleshooting steps that you can take when you're in library databases. So if you have too many search results, which is very common, a great place to start is by filtering your results. You can find this pictured on the left side of your results list, and you can choose many different ways to filter your results. You can click where it says peer-reviewed journals if you only need articles that meet that criteria. You can also choose the subject and choose a drop down. So maybe you have 3,000 results, but there are only 400 specific to women or social work. So if you click on that, that will automatically narrow your results to more of the area you're looking for. You can also make a shorter creation date for the articles or the material. If we started in 2010 to present, we can choose 2020 or 2019 to present if we're getting too many results. You can also limit by the type of resource. As I've said, articles are not the only good resource. They can be really great, but book chapters can also be super helpful. The library has thousands of ebooks that are available. And it's super easy to search within an ebook, whether using the table of contents or some of the search tools built in, that you can find specific elements related to your search query. So to add resource types, you'll click on the left side to get that green arrow. To remove types, like if we don't want any reviews or review articles, we'll click on the right side of that word to get the red box. Once we've selected all the different filters we want to add to our search, we will click Apply Filters at the bottom, and we will get a new results list. Another way to limit that I briefly mentioned is adding more search terms, and that will make the Venn diagram or the overlapping areas even smaller, which will hopefully help focus your results to the specific area that you're looking for. Sometimes you have results that are not about the right thing, and that's where adding subject instead of any field can be really helpful. I totally get it. It can get extremely frustrating if you're not finding what you're looking for. So this is a great opportunity to take a step back and look at just one concept. So as we have here, the example of teaching reading, we're going to think of how else can we describe teaching reading that may be more subject specific, such as literacy or teaching methods. And then we'll go look at those articles and their subject lists, and we can potentially steal even more terms that'll keep kind of getting us closer and closer to what we want, the answer to our research query. I'll admit, as a notoriously bad speller, I can speak from experience that it's very important to check your spelling because the library databases are only going to look for exactly what you ask for. It's not going to do the Google prompt of, did you mean, or autocorrect your spelling. But generally, it will show that little red wavy line under a misspelled word to prompt you to correct it. If you're using acronyms, spelling them out can often give you more successful results, as many different disciplines all use the same acronyms. So you may be getting results that aren't even in the right industry that you want because you haven't spelled it out. If you have too few results, this is an opportunity to think more creatively about your search terms. Because remember, the first word that you think about isn't necessarily going to be the only way to describe your topic or even the best way. So we can think about related words or synonyms. We can think about formal or more official ways of saying the same thing. We can broaden our concepts or narrow our terms. And so we can see for the example shown for mental illness, explaining that the related term is abnormal psychology. That's a way of practicing medicine related to mental illness. A broader term is mental health. That's going to encompass even more of that industry. And then a much narrower term would be a specific diagnosis, like obsessive compulsive disorder. So in general, when I'm searching, especially if I get too few results, I want to consider how experts are talking about the topic or describing their research. So generally, those are going to be more formal or official language that's used to describe the information that you're searching for versus the more colloquial or general language that we use to communicate with each other. Other things that you can do is use fewer search terms or remove those quotation marks if they're around a longer phrase. You can also take out some of those limiters or filters that we added, widen the time range, take out some of the subject filters. You can also try searching somewhere else. And this is especially important if you're searching within one specific database. Because as I mentioned, if you're in just one database, we may have to go to multiple databases to find all the information you need. Or you can try searching in Spartan Search to look at everything the library has. If you're stuck, never fear. Librarians are here, and we are searching experts. We can help with all kinds of things, whether it's troubleshooting searches that you're running into, helping you brainstorm keywords and search terms, potentially helping you reframe your research question or your search criteria. We have many different ways to get in contact with librarians, from the form on our website where you can choose to submit a question and receive a response via email. There's also live chat with a librarian anytime the library is open, and that's indicated with that green little Ask Us that pops out. You can also call or text the library at any time that we are open. And then we do also have a web address pictured on screen that is even more ways to get research help. Thank you so much for listening. I'm super glad that you were able to join me. I will be sending a follow-up email with this recording, resources, and a short survey. So I'm going to turn off the recording now so we'll have some time for questions. Again, thank you for joining me.